meeting tent, and there pronouncing the holy name, pronouncing the holy name of God, Yahweh, that is translated for us as Lord. And the Lord would pass by and converse with him and give to him the precepts and ordinances, right, of the law. The meeting tent was the precursor of what for the people of Israel? The temple. The temple. So remember, here I am, I've been going around in a tent, and I didn't ask for a house of cedar, right? But then it would be David, and then eventually to Solomon, King Solomon, to construct the temple, destroy it for, I recall, at least 2 times, and then King Herod, actually, the last time, had restored it, just a couple decades before Jesus would be born, right? So, you've got the meeting tent, right? And that holy place where Moses, God's servant and prophet, would converse with him, right? If any of you have been to the theology chapel at St. John's Seminary, the interior of the chapel has the architectural features of the meeting tent. Actually, the paintings on the walls are meant to look like curtains, and the roof is kind of thatched of wood and stuff from the inside. And then where the original high altar is, there's a little canopy. So all of it is meant to evoke the Old Testament meeting tent, right? And so for us as the church, as the Holy Assembly, the Asamblea, where we get Iglesia, right? Those being called out, that we gather in our church, the house of God, right? That has its precursor, of course, the temple in Jerusalem, and before that, the meeting tent. And so now we as Christians, and through the mystery of the incarnation of God's eternal Word becoming flesh, right? His Word sown in his heart, but God, the eternal Word, Jesus, the eternal Word, being made flesh in the incarnation, in the birth, right? Now we can dare to pronounce his holy name, right? Yahweh. So we still respect that holy name, and as it is so sacred that the Jews still don't pronounce it. And it was then in the Old Testament times that only the high priest one time a year would go in and pronounce that holy name. But now there's not just one meeting tent that was wandering all of those years, 40 years in the desert, and then nothing permanent until the establishment of the temple, right? But as we know, Jesus says, I call you to worship in spirit and in truth. So whether we're in our humble little chapel, right? That Jesus is right here. We've got that beautiful image of Our Lady of the Angels, right? But a very humble chapel otherwise, right? Or if we're in St. Peter's Basilica, wherever we are in the meeting tent, right? And God speaks to our hearts, and we speak to him, certainly through the proclamation of the Scriptures, hopefully a somewhat cogent and inspiring homily. The word's still out on this one today. But, right? But through our prayer and through the gathering of God's people, individually and collectively, he speaks directly to his heart through his Spirit, and then, of course, we believe authoritatively through his church, right? But again, that beautiful, beautiful architecture. If you ever get up to St. John's, if you go into the theology chapel again, you'll see it's just painting on the walls, but it's meant to mirror the curtains, if you will, the tent, the canopy, the roof, and everything. And it harkens back to all those centuries ago, millennia ago, if you will. God speaking to his servant Moses, God who continues to, hopefully if our hearts are those fertile, fertile grounds, taking deep, deep root. Not the devil and his demons, right, coming to pull it out because it's on rocky ground or unfertile ground, but taking deep, deep root to bear fruit in our lives, and of course, in the lives of those we love and serve. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.